the house. Literally. Yeah, I'm probably the first person to ever start a live with some classic house tracks. And for my people from the Shy, they grew up in the 80s. You know what it is. They probably going crazy right now. They probably haven't heard those tracks since back in the day, but those were the jams. I don't know where you're from, but in the Shy, it's the home of the house music where you get a lot of the modern techno and all that other stuff, the electronic type music that a lot of that originated in the Shy. So I just wanted to salute with that. And of course, welcome you all to another exciting episode of the Night Riders Squad Cast. And you may have noticed that this particular video has the intro as if it's a live broadcast. And that is because this was initially set to be a live stream. However, YouTube had different ideas. So during the actual live, which was last week, this was slated to be the topic, and everything was going well. We were making a classic, and some of you that were fortunate enough to be in the house, you should remember. However, during the live, as per usual, we noticed there were some interruptions, and they've done it in the past, just like when we did our end of the year broadcast, and they kept interrupting it, ostensibly because of some of the clips, but we're still able to have it, posted. As you can see, if you go back and look at some of our archives, you'll see that we kind of split it up, and some of the particular things that they are griping about, we tried to handle that. However, in this instance, they didn't even give us an opportunity to find out what the issue was, and some of the other guys that were in the house, they noticed before as well that they would kind of be interrupting it even as we were talking. So I wasn't even playing a clip at the time. So they've been kind of acting real goofy, and we know what it is. So we're just kind of pointing these things out. So we just wanted to make that clear that some of you may be, wondering what happened last week and the reason why we're just now posting this. But this is a condensed version of that broadcast, and we didn't want to allow for you guys to miss out on this at all. So we could have just said, you know what, we're just going to say forget it. We put in some nice work. As I said, it was a classic. We didn't get a chance to repost it. Like I said, they wouldn't even let us edit it. So it's crazy. But we're just going to do it this way. We're going to post this. It's going to show up as a video, which it is. So we just wanted to make sure that this particular stream, as it were, I mean, it's a video pre-recorded, but we definitely still felt the need to share with you this topic, which brings me to my point as to why I'm doing this subject, because some of you may be aware that we are pretty much a very Renaissance type broadcast over here. We do talk about the topics of the day, solving the world's problems, getting together and talking about issues, whether it be relationships, the economy, world events, you name it. But one of the things that I wanted to do when I initiated this particular show was to incorporate some of the art side of a lot of the fact that, black men, as I mentioned before, don't get a lot of credit for being, whether it be Renaissance men or Sigma men and so forth. So that's one of the things that I had in mind when I designed this particular show, was because I felt that is something that is a key component to how a lot of us operate, which, whether it be the B-dub or larger societies, don't understand just how creative and artistic black men are, although they benefit from these arts in the form of these industries such as hip hop and our performances doing, other entertainment endeavors, creation of music such as, blues, jazz, rock, all of that. So I don't think that black men get the proper credit specifically as being the soil by which a lot of these creative arts are formed. And I did want to display that in my production and some of the topics and the creativity that we do as far as just how we present the things that we do. And, lo and behold, you can see certain people mimicking certain things. And again, I don't have a problem with people mimicking and doing certain things that I do over here, but it wouldn't hurt them just to kind of, acknowledge where they're getting certain things from. And that's the only reason why I bring this up, because I want people to get credit, no matter who they are, for what they do. Because I shout out people, when I am citing whatever it is, whether it be a talking point, which is rare because I typically don't need to quote other people's talking point without giving them credit, because I have my own set. But to the extent, sometimes things might overlap, and I understand that too, whether it be something I said that someone else says or vice versa. But when in fact there's specific things that someone comes up with, I think it's very important for them to get credit. But anyway, that's subject for another video. However, I do want to welcome you all to another exciting episode of the Knight Riders Squadcast. Even though there's gonna obviously be no one in the house, I did want to present this kind of like a live stream, in the sense that you know how tenacious we are over here. Even though we did not have the opportunity to present to you the classic that we had lined up, what I wanted to do with this particular video is just kind of give you some highlights as to what we talked about. And part of the reason that I felt the need to do this, as I said, is to demonstrate how creative we are as black men, as well as show you the time that some of us grew up in. Because to me, and I don't know about you, because a lot of you guys are younger, but my favorite decade, probably by far, was the 80s. Okay, I was too young to remember the 70s, even though I have some fond memories of that too. The 90s were cool. I know some of you guys are a little younger, so the 90s were your decade, and that's cool. I like the 90s too, but it really, for me, it was the 80s, and I'm going to show you why. So for my people who grew up during that time, you're going to love this broadcast, and even some of you younger guys who didn't, you're in for a treat, because some of your most iconic and classic moments in world history and entertainment happened right in our decade, and they have forged and shaped who a lot of us are. And a lot of what you see in terms of the music that I play over here, the vibe that you get, the designs of the, certain of the sets, like what you're looking at right there, a lot of it is pretty much inspired by that time. And I think those of us who grew up during that time was Gen Xers, I think we are a different breed, right? And, some of these guys, when they get to watching this and they start seeing some of these things I'm going to show you tonight, it's really going to hit that nostalgia. And again, even if you guys that are younger, that didn't grow up during that time, you're going to appreciate those of us who did. And I think you're probably going to wish you did kind of grow up during that time, because we got a chance to see some of the most classic moments in history live, right? So some of you may just be regulated to seeing it in, these clips and stuff like that. But it's one thing to do that, or to have lived through some of these events. So the outline of this is going to be as follows. As I said, this is a condensed version. I'm not going to show all of the clips that I showed during the live for obvious reasons, because, YouTube, obviously, under the guise of that, even, this copyright stuff, even though it's fair use and some of these clips are already posted. But we're just going to try to condense it down and try to filter out some of the things that might trigger whatever. So, but we are going to get the point across. We're going to talk about initially just what it was like growing up in the 80s, just life in general. We're going to touch briefly on the positives, in the culture, such as sports, certain iconic figures, culture, the technology of that time, some of the commercials and things like that of that time. Then we're going to get into we're obviously going to have to be honest and talk about some of the negatives, because like I said, even though it was my favorite decade, there was still some very important changes when it comes to the socioeconomic dynamics, and we're going to touch on that briefly. Even though this is an up-tempo show and most of it is going to be positive, we got to be honest and show that it wasn't a paradise, and that there were a lot of paradigm shifts that were started back then and permeate to this day. So we're going to talk about that briefly. We're going to get into some of the popular TV shows at that time. We're going to talk about some of the popular cartoons. Like I said, I'm not going to play all the clips that I was going to play before, but you're going to get the idea. Some of the best movie scenes during that era. Something about the 80s films and just 80s, just the vibe and how everything was. It was crazy. So we're going to touch on that. We're going to touch on some of you guys who may be interested in other forms of entertainment, such as games. We're going to touch on that briefly. Some of the things that came out, there were a lot of pioneering things, home video systems and stuff like that started making itself known back then. A lot of you guys who are gamers or whatnot, you'll get to see how some of this all started. Obviously, we're going to have to get into the music. We're going to talk about some of the classic, whether it be R&B tracks or some hip-hop, things like that. So that's pretty much going to be it. I'm just going to play some clips within those genres, and we're just going to kick back and have some fun. Like I said, it's not going to be as obviously interactive as if you were on the live, but I'm just trying to recapture those moments that we did, and also try to recapture the particular era, which is the 80s that we're talking about. So without any further ado, let me go ahead and cue up some of these clips. And the first thing we're going to do is start out with sports. And I'm not necessarily a big, huge sports fan. However, it was something I would say almost magical about growing up in Chi during this era, because, as you know, we had a few legendary events that happened in the city that I'm from. And, I'm going to show you how it all started with one particular individual that started getting on the radar sometimes in the early 80s. I believe it was in the 1982 NCAA final. So this guy right here, some of you guys might be familiar with. Let's play this clip.
A 1-point lead for Georgetown. Well, they stay in the 1-3-1 with Ewing in the middle. They've got to look to get it in there, as you can with a shot blocker like Ewing. Takes so much time. 40 to Black. The tie, 18. Shot. You were the leading rebounder there, Rook, and not a bad jump shot. Was that a set play where you go into the rookie?
Yes, sir, it was a set play. He was going to throw over to Jimmy and throw it back to me and have it zone switch. And I had the open shot. He said, "Oh, take it."
So, yeah, that guy right there. So, that was a guy who found his way from North Carolina over there. He got drafted to the Chicago Bulls, and we got that footage. Let's see how that played out.
Now we are ready for the third pick in the Chicago. And now
let's go ahead and get this queued up. Let's go.
We are ready for the third pick and the Chicago Bulls, who have been drafting.
Okay, give me one moment. So it's kind of interesting how this all played out.
Now we are ready for the third pick and the Chicago Bulls, who have been drafting very high down through the years, and they have the third pick today.
So he was the third pick, and this is probably going to go down as one of the greatest moves in sports history, but let's go.
The Chicago Bulls pick Michael Jordan of the University of North Carolina.
So Michael Jordan, who right now is in Bloomington getting ready for the upcoming Olympics, and this man is a can't miss at whether a guard spot or the forward at 6'6", 195 pounds.
Yeah, so that was probably one of the all-time greatest draft picks in sports history, and it happened in the 80s, I believe 1984 to be exact. So I was too young to be paying attention to this at the time, but later on, I did happen to find out more about this guy as the years went on. But let's go.
You know, he makes them when they count. He can do it in traffic. He can do it under tremendous control. He's a great, great creator. In the mold of a Dr. J. Not as big, but is in that class, and I think he's going to make a great, great player. He's what you call the people's player. People love to see this young man perform.
Yep, I'm not sure if he knew how right that statement was, but we're going to get into some of these clips. So again, we'll just take you down a walk in memory lane, because a lot of you guys don't realize that a lot of your most iconic moments, in whether it be sports, entertainment, innovations, happen right in the decade of the 80s. So that's the reason why I wanted to make a point of creating this broadcast, because it kind of tied into the overall theme of the show when I initially designed it. Because I also mentioned to you guys that even the name of the show, which is the Knight Riders Squadcast, has its roots in the 80s. Because there's a TV show, we're going to play a little bit of clip on it, called Knight Riders, right? And some of you who remember, I think they may have done some remakes, but I haven't seen any of those. But I remember being a kid, and that was a TV show that would come on, I think it was NBC or what have you. And I you know, as a kid, I would watch it, but I remember years later, when I got my first car that I bought brand new when I was working in the financial industry. I went and bought my first new car, and it was a all black sports car, gray leather interior, very nice. And I remember one time I was getting out of the car, and I had my shades on, and I had a black jacket on, and what have you. And then my mom looked at me and said, "Who do you think you are, Knight Rider?" And I thought to myself, well, as a matter of fact, I do, you know. But it was kind of like subconscious. But because she remembered when I was a kid, and I would watch this show, and I think that kind of reminded her of that, because of the way my car looked and the fact that I had this black leather jacket, I had my shades on or whatever. And she just kind of was, told me, "Hey, who do I think I am? Knight Rider, right?" And I said, "Yeah, maybe I do subconsciously." But anyway, and so that became the basis for this particular name of this broadcast, as well as the overall, Batman similarities. That, I told the story about how I was in high school and I had a leather trench. And as you know, in Chi-Town, it's kind of windy in terms of the weather, and I used to sometimes, me and my homies, we walking down the street, and I had my leather trench on, and it would be flapping in the air, and it looked like I had a cape on. They'd be like, they called me Batman. But anyway, it was funny. But again, I just wanted to show you guys how things all connect. And so that's the overall premise of this broadcast. But we're going to get into these clips, and I'm going to run through them pretty quick. I'm not going to be interrupting a lot of them, because I want to make sure that you get as many as possible. So I just wanted to take this time to, set the tone. But I'm going to keep my commentary limited, but I am going to have to point out some specific things for you. So let's get it.
I think that the NBA is going to be a lot of fast-paced game.
And that was his first NBA exhibition game before he even started playing, and he was already showing promise. So let's get it.
I think I'm pretty prepared.
Yeah, let's get it. We're just showing the progress of how he.
In 1984, Michael Jordan is selected by the Chicago Bulls as the third overall pick in the NBA.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would be tripping on the fact that he was the third overall pick, and Hakeem Olajuwon was number one. But let's go.
NBA draft, signs his rookie contract with the Chicago Bulls on the 1st of July. He made his NBA debut for the Chicago Bulls in a game against the Washington Bullets on the 26th of October, the same date where Nike's executive, Rob Strasser, saw Jordan's potential and led the effort to sign him to a 5-year endorsement deal, worth $2.5 million, 3 times more than any other deal in the NBA at the time. He first wore the Air Jordan 1 on the 17th of November but released to the public on 1985 for only $64.99.
I know some of you guys wish you could have got a bunch of those. That's one thing. I had a cousin that had Jordans. I never had those when they first came out. I think I may have got a pair later on, but again, I was I think I was in Alabama when these came out, and my cousin had some because I was down there just visiting um, family, and it wasn't going to be until a little bit later that I got back. I think later in the year, towards the end of '85, I was on my way back to Chicago. But um, yeah, right now those are pretty expensive. Those Air Jordan 1s, the originals from '85. But let's go.
Now the price for a pair of the 1985 Air Jordan 1 starts at $36,000 up to $77,000. The Air Jordan 1 featured the Wings logo, designed to represent Jordan's soaring and electrifying playing style on the basketball court. On his first season in the NBA, Michael Jordan made an immediate impact, averaging 28.2 points per game in his rookie season and become the NBA Rookie of the Year.
Yep, here's some more footage.
Watch Gino get ready to hit it all the way down the court with Michael going, maybe? Yep, there it is. Michael Jordan on the breakaway. Wow. 37 for Jordan. It's a 20-point lead. Lined up. Michael just sort of went snuggling in like he was looking for the rebound all alone, and you had about 80 feet of court wide open, and it was...
Yep. Here's another one.
He looks, he looks, he looks, he gives to Jordan. Jordan to the circle, puts the shot in the air. Good! The game's over, and the Bulls have won. Jordan beat him at the buzzer with a jump shot in the circle, and Chicago has knocked off the Cavs 101 to 100.
See, one thing that this shows is that why there's so many iconic moments for Jordan. And like I said, I'm not even a huge sports fan like that, but it's amazing to come from a city like that and the energy that was there during that time. And it's just from a cultural standpoint, it's very fun. So I've been, I think it was one of the championship parades that I was able to go to, and I believe I saw Mike in person. Never met him. I met Magic Johnson one time when I went to LA, but I have been in events where he was there, and I believe when they won, I think it was the first championship. I may have been at one of those parades. But anyway, let's see whatever happened to this guy, because it looks like the 80s was pretty good to him. But let's go.
Michael Jordan is 62 years old now. He lost $45 million on a movie project, but he doesn't care. Why? Because he once gave his ex-wife $100 million in their divorce. Yeah, that's how much money he makes. He owns the most expensive team. He sold the Charlotte Hornets for $3 billion. He makes over $100 million every year from his AJ brand. And he even owns a $28 million lakeside mansion in Chicago. He has the most expensive sneakers. He owns a pair of original signed AJ sneakers worth $1 million. He drives the world's only black and gold customized Ferrari Testarossa. And he built a $15 million private basketball training facility. But now, Michael Jordan is focused on charity. He's determined to use his wealth to change the world. He's donated $100 million to racial equality causes. He also funded a $70 million children's hospital in underprivileged areas. Every year, he donates $5 million to help retired players improve their lives. Do you like him?
Okay, so that was what happened to that young man. So it looks like he made a nice name for himself. And another thing I need to point out is, as people debate these particular who's the GOAT and so forth. I don't really get into those debates because it's just a matter of opinion. But I think widely MJ is considered the GOAT, even though people are trying to throw LeBron in there. And don't get me wrong, I think LeBron is a good or a great player. However, I think he lacks the iconic repertoire that Jordan has, because he hasn't shown those magical type of moments that encapsulates part of Jordan's brand. Case in point, I'm not sure if LeBron has ever competed in or won any dunk contest, but I remember that's what really made Jordan iconic, and the whole Air Jordan brand was solidified with that. So I'm going to play a little bit of that. And one of the greatest slam dunk contests is 1988. between him and Dominic Wilkins. And I kind of remember this as a kid too, and that's what I mean by guys growing up in this era. You kind of missed out if you didn't have the opportunity to live through some of this stuff. But I'm gonna play some highlights from this particular dunk contest. So let's get it.
February 6th, 1988, Chicago Stadium NBA All-Star Weekend Slam Dunk Competition. And what LeBron is missing out by not competing in the Slam Dunk contest, Jordan capitalized on those iconic images.
Okay, so yeah, so like he said, I guess LeBron has not competed in these type of events, which again, those are the moments that would solidify someone as a GOAT. It's not just the performance on the court in the games, it's just everything surrounding the game as far as, getting into contests, going up against, some of the best. So like in this case, Dominic Wilkins was the best at that point. I think he was the champion and, the dunk contest, and Jordan came in and won. Even though, it's debatable, I think it was still, it could have been a damn near tie, but they had it in Chicago, so they weren't going to let Jordan lose in Chicago, to be honest, but it was still good, and it was one of those iconic moments for the sport, but let's get it.
I keep him young forever, and will also sell those shoes forever.
For sure. Maybe LeBron just needs some competition, someone to go dunk for dunk with, to bring out the best in him. MJ had that on that February 9th. His name, Dominic Wilkins. The best slam dunk contest ever.
There it is.
Here we go.
I like the music, too.
I do. That takes you back, don't it?
It does.
Michael Jordan, your defending champ from the 87 dunk contest in Seattle.
And Dominic's one of the greats, too. I remember, I think I had my hair in a box like that at one point in the 90s. Some people used to say I kind of looked like him. But, yeah, back then, yeah, we had those crazy 80s haircuts, so don't front like you didn't. You either had a Jerry curl or I had the fade like Dominic. I had the Gumby like Bobby Brown. Yeah, don't even get me started on those 80s haircuts. But those 80s haircuts were something serious. But anyway, Jordan just had, I think he was going bald, so he just kind of, let his go. But some of us was holding on to those 80s hairstyles, man. I know I did. Let's go.
The reverse, 47.
Okay, I'll take the Neek dunks, and he just goes 360 tomahawk hard. And look at that. Again, these beautiful slow-mo camera shots. LeBron, this is why you have to dunk. So Wilkins beat Jordan the first round.
All right,
both advance to semis.
Yeah, wipe the slates clean. Jordan eyeing the free throw line. Some inspiration from an NBA icon.
I found the guy who started it all. Dr. J was sitting over there. He was looking at me, and he pointed, like going back and do the free throw line.
So he did that like spur of the moment. This wasn't a planned thing like it is now. He just went back and did his thing. More than 75 feet.
Just a little over the line.
Shucks, man. I can't do it.
Yeah, that was a good dunk right there. I got another clip from that because, like I said, I'm going to try to run through them. So I had another clip that I'm going to, about another angle from the dunk contest as well. So let me get you that one. Let's go.
With Jordan and Wilkins both healthy, the long-awaited rematch had finally arrived. And Jordan had home court advantage. With more than just the trophy at stake, the game's two most breathtaking showmen would vie for slam dunk supremacy. Staging a legendary duel for the ages.
They just showed a clip of Dr. J, who was the one that it seemed like people were comparing Jordan to, because it was Dr. J was the most dominant force, I think in the 70s. Yeah, so let's get it.
Here's a 3-0.
Whoa! Call that special. Everybody in the stands flashing a 10.
Looking control, ready for launch.
perfect score of 50 on that dunk from Dominique Wilkins, now the defending champion. He got a 50.
Well, we're still even as Jordan goes up and takes it way down.
Second 50.
Well, the heat is on.
47. Michael Jordan needs a 48 to tie, a 49 to win. They gave him a 50. They gave Jordan a 50. He defends his championship.
See, like I said, man, the 80s was a different time, man. That to me is what solidified Michael Jordan, or among other things, obviously his performance on the court as well. But I think that's when he started getting the moniker Air Jordan, if I'm not mistaken. Some of you NBA or basketball historians could correct me, because like I said, I'm not the greatest sports historian, or I just kind of like a what you may call a fair weather observer. If Chi-Town is doing well, whether it be the Bears, the Cubs, or Sox, or Bulls, then I may tune in a little bit more. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, I think that pretty much showed a lot of what made Jordan the icon that he is today, in terms of him being at the top of his game. So salute to him. And there was actually another Mike during that era that actually there were a few Mikes that performed very well during that era. One of them being this particular guy right here. Some of you may be familiar with him.
How Mike Tyson became the youngest champion in boxing history. On November 22nd, 1986, in Las Vegas, 20-year-old Mike entered the ring against WBC.
And 86 was a good year, man. Let's go.
Heavyweight champion Trevor Berbick. From the first second of the fight, Mike went on the attack. Trevor made a mistake and tried to exchange blows with iron. And in the 20 seconds before the end of the first round, Mike hits a powerful left hook, after which Berbick barely manages to stay on his feet. Then Mike pounced on his victim, and only the gong saved Berbick. But already in the second round, during the next attack, Tyson misses an uppercut, but hits a powerful left hook on the jaw of his opponent. Trevor tried to get up twice, but both times he fell back again.
Yeah, I think we got another angle on that as well.
Watch Mike Tyson become the youngest heavyweight champion of the world.
And look at young Mike Tyson, age 20 years old. Let's watch how quick Tyson will jump on Trevor.
So I believe that was the first time someone that young had become the heavyweight champ. So again, this was the 80s. There were a lot of firsts, a lot of breakthrough moments, a lot of classic, iconic moments. So again, you just had to be there. It's one thing to see it in these clips, was another thing to have been living at that time and old enough to kind of remember some of it. So it was pretty cool. But let's go.
Trevor, his whole life has been for this night. But Trevor wants to prove that he's one of the great champions. Tyson goes to work right away, and he gets Trevor in trouble, and he's down from this. His legs may be shut. They are. It's all over. We've got a brand new heavyweight champion of the world, Mike Tyson.
Yeah, so that was the year of the mics, and we're later on, before we wrap up, we're obviously going to touch on music and the other Mike, that be the other MJ, that is Michael Jackson. We're going to touch on a little bit on him, but just to kind of bring it back to Chi-Town, I remember, like I said, when I was a kid, I spent some time down in the South, and even though I was born and raised in Chicago, I happened to be I remember the year from, I think 85. I was just spending, down there, spending time with my grandparents, on my father's side and so forth. So I think I stayed the summer or something down there, but it was cool. But then later on, towards the end of '85. I was on my way back to Chicago, and it just so happened that the Bears won the Super Bowl that year. And I remember even the little town that I was in. I don't want to say the name because it's kind of like a little enclave that I kind of hold dear. So, but at any rate, it's known for producing a lot of NFL players. So it's like that particular town in Alabama. They have a few people who went on to become successful in the NFL. I know one guy that we kind of grew up with him down there. But anyway, you know, like I said, I was mostly raised in Chicago, but I would always go down to visit my father's side as well, because my mother's side is from there too. But when that particular part of Alabama, but another side, but her family, or I should say our family, moved north, and my father's family pretty much stayed in the south for the most part. He himself moved to the north, you know, looking for opportunities, and that's how he met my mom, and therefore I am here. But I would kind of obviously spend a lot of time with, you know, both sides of my family, because it was very amicable, and that's why it's important for people, you know, these women to have their children know both sides of their family. But because they don't even know in some cases who their father is, they can't give that child that experience of knowing their full family. My parents were married, and I was born in wedlock, so I didn't have that as a problem. But anyway, we don't want to go into that. But I remember coming back to Chicago, and the atmosphere was very cool, and I think it was an exciting time because of the whole pageantry of what was going on with the, you know, Bears winning the Super Bowl. And they went on to make one of the most classic celebration songs of all time in sports history, and some of you guys might remember this. So let's get it. Chicago, stand up. Look at Walter Payton right there. Let's go. So bad, we know we're good. Yeah, Jim McMahon. Yeah, that was the squad, boy. They had William the Refrigerator Perry. He's on here. Got Jim McMahon right there. He had the best probably running back of all time, Walter Payton. Man, it was a crazy squad. But let's go. You know we're just strutting for fun, strutting our stuff for everyone. We're not here to start no trouble. We're just here to do the Super Bowl show. Well, they call me Sweetness, and I like to dance. Running the ball is like making more mans. We had the goal since training camp. Now back then, you could call a guy Sweetness like him because he was so sweet on the field. It didn't mean what it means today. So just so you know, that was Walter Payton's nickname because he made the players were so sweet. And some of the stuff he was doing on the field. So just so you'll know that's why they called him that. It wasn't because of no funny reasons, but I just had to point that out. Let's go. To give Chicago a Super Bowl champ. And we're not doing this because we're greedy. The Bears are doing it to feed the needy. We didn't come here to look for trouble. We just come here to do the Super Bowl shot. This is Speedy Willis, and I'm world class. I like running, but I love to get the pass. I practice all day and dance all night. All these guys were... I mean, this was like a classic squad right here. These guys had their own different, like, personalities. I don't see that today in the NFL. A lot of these guys were the larger-than-life guys, like, you know, William the Refrigerator Perry. I think he had his own cartoon or something, too. It was crazy. These guys back then, they were like, each of them were kind of iconic in their own right, and then they came together to form this super squad. So that's what I liked about that particular era of sports. Even though I'm not a huge sports fan, it's just those moments like this that are memorable, especially growing up as a kid. But let's go. I gotta get ready for the Sunday fight. Now I'm as smooth as a chocolate swirl. I dance a little funky, so watch me, girl. There's no one here that does it like me. My Super Bowl shuffle will set you free.
I'm Samurai Mike, I stop 'em cold. Part of the defense, big and bold. I've been jamming for quite a while. Oh yeah, that's another Mike Singletary. Those of you who know, you know. Man was a beast on the field. That's another Mike I should add to the combination. Mike
Michael Jordan, Mike Tyson, Michael Jackson, and Michael Singletary. So it was the year, it was the decade of the Michaels. So let's go.
What's right and setting the style. Give me a chance, I'll rock you good. Nobody messing in my neighborhood. I didn't come here looking for trouble. I just came to do the Super Bowl shuffle. We are the Bears shuffling crew, shuffling on down, doing it for you. We're so bad, we know we're good. Blowing your mind like we knew we would. You know we're just.
But I'm going to have to play with William Refrigerator Perry. I think he should be coming up. Let's go.
Strutting our stuff for everyone. We're not here.
No, my brother ain't back there playing the tom-toms, man. Let's go.
Start no trouble. We're just here to do the Super Bowl shuffle.
Yeah, let me get to William the Refrigerator Perry. Let me see what he said. Hold on. Because he was like the character of the squad. See if I can get to his part. I think, see that I skip it. Well, William, because those of you who remember this squad, you know, you should know some of these guys too. So let's see if I can find the fridge, his part. Did I skip him? Okay, there he is. This is William the Refrigerator Perry. So let me play his part.
You're looking at the fridge, I'm the rookie. I may be large, but I'm no dumb cookie. You see me hit, you see me run. When I kick and pass, we'll have more fun. I can dance, you will see. The others, they all learn from me. I didn't come here looking for trouble. I just came to do the Super Bowl shuffle.
Yeah, that's a classic. Chicago stand up. I know some people in there going crazy. You probably haven't seen that in a long time. But anyway, moving right along. Oh, you know what? I'm going to do an honorable mention. For you guys who are like under 5'9" or whatever, you guys need to be bigging up this guy right here, because you've been, I think a lot of guys been sleeping on him, and he put a lot of you, I would say average height guys. I think he did you guys a service, and he should be in everybody top 5 who is under, I would say, 5'9". You should be putting this dude right here in your top 5s. Let's go. Just an honorable mention. He even shocked Jordan. That's the man, Spud Webb. He was a 5'6", I believe. Spud Webb, the shortest dude, the winner dunk contest. Crazy. But anyway, that was it. That was the 80s, man. You had magic moments like that. And you also had figures that were kind of larger than life as well. Some of you guys that were growing up, you might remember this guy right here. This guy right here was everywhere. Kind of an icon in his own right. And I think a lot of people be sleeping on him because they don't understand just how serious it was back in the 80s, where you had a guy like this who changed the game. And that is none other than Mr. T. And I don't think you guys understand how big Mr. T was back in the 80s, but I'm going to show you some examples. He pretty much stole the show in Rocky III. I remember when that movie first came out. He pretty much overshadowed it. People went to see it for Mr. T. And don't get me wrong, Sylvester Stallone and made a classic movie, but I think Mr. T stole the show from him. He even overshadowed the great Carl Weathers, who played Apollo Creed. But this kind of solidified Mr. T as an 80s icon. So we're just going to play some of his classic lines right here from that movie. So let's go.
Philadelphia salutes its favorite son, Rocky Balboa.
Let me fast forward.
Inside, I should
Now give me mine. I got you.
It's time that I should step down, maybe, and retire.
Get out while you can. Don't get this sucker no statue. Give him guts. I told you I wasn't going away. You got your shot. Now give me mine.
Why don't you get the hell out of there?
Shut up, old man. I ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, Mr. T, by the way, is actually from the Chi, and he was one of the guys who just kind of changed the style of the 80s. He had his own unique style, the way he dressed. I think he may have even popularized wearing the gold chains and all that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but New York, you may owe that to the Chi, as far as wearing the gold chains and all that. That became a staple in hip hop. But people don't understand how influential Mr. T was back in the 80s. I mean, he had his own cartoon, he had his own cereal, and I'm going to show and prove in a moment. But it was because of classic moments like this, his performances, and how he was just pretty much still in the show, even from someone like Sylvester Stallone, who I know felt kind of a I know he felt the way about the fact of how Mr. T pretty much stole the show, but let's go.
And why don't you tell all these nice folks why you've been ducking me? Politics, man. This country wants to keep me down. Keep everybody weak. They don't want a man like me to have the title because I'm not a puppet like that fool up there.
You know, you've got a big mouth, Why
don't you come out and close it, bad boy? Come on. Come on.
It's time. This guy's crazy. Don't listen to him.
The little man don't want to come to me. Then I'll come to you.
And that's the other thing. People don't realize how many sayings that he would make. This was before the era of things going viral. What he would do was he came up with these phrases like, I pity the fool, and had everybody saying that. It was crazy. But anyway, let's go.
People lay out the truth. I am ranked number one. One! That means I'm the best. But this bum been taking the easy matches, fighting other bums. I'm telling you and everybody here, I'll fight him anywhere, anytime, for nothing. But you people ain't never gonna see that happen because he's gonna retire. You see, he don't fight no real man. He fight them setups.
What? You're a disgrace to this sport.
Shut up, old man. You and that chump don't know where to come from. Bad boy, your family doing real nice, ain't it? You call yourself a fighter? Prove it now. Give me that same chance. The way you've been ducking is the disgrace. If he ain't no coward, why don't he fight me then?
I can't listen anymore of this. Hey, anytime. I don't care what you rank. You don't get no shot, and I mean that.
I'm glad you people are seeing this here.
What are you doing? I want to fight this guy. Well, you got him. You'll fight him without me.
Yeah, but everybody did a good performance in Rocky 3. That's Meredith as Rocky's trainer. But yeah, everybody did a pretty good job. But Mr. T pretty much stole the show. But let's get a little bit more.
You saying? It's finished. Yes, I'm finished. I don't want no more. I don't want no more. You understand? None of it.
Yeah, he didn't want him to fight him because he knew Mr. T was going to win, as we're going to show shortly. But let's go.
It's over with. Judging by my fighting record. Hey, woman. Hey, woman. Listen here. Since your old man ain't got no heart, maybe you'd like to see a real man. I bet you stay up late every night dreaming you had a real man, don't you? I tell you what. Bring your pretty little self over to my apartment tonight, and I'll show you a real man. You want it? You get out!
But anyway, let's cut through some of these other classic scenes. Let's go.
One of the mystic greats is coming up from ringside, the master of disaster, the king of sting, the one and only Apollo Creed.
And there he is, the former heavyweight champion of the world, Apollo Creed. Stu, he looks like $9 million.
Get out my face. Don't need nothing you got no more. Don't need no hair's been messing up my corner. And you better get that bad look off your face before I knock it off.
At the great Carl Weathers right there, R.I.P. One of the greatest actors of his time. Also, he came with some classic movies as well, like Action Jackson. I may play a clip or two from that a little bit later. So, like I said, I didn't want this to be too long, but I just had to kind of show some classic moments from Mr. T because I think people don't realize that Chi-Town brother changed the game. And, it's kind of funny that subconsciously, I think a lot of black men started understanding that we could call ourselves, and we were supposed to call ourselves Mr. because, back in the day, during slavery and so forth, the black man and we went over that before as far as how our image has been denigrated over the centuries, and it got so bad, I believe, during the slave codes that black men were not referred to as Mr., they were referred to as boy, right? And what I like about Mr. T is that he called himself Mr., right? And I think in some ways, some of us during that era, we kind of understood the importance of that, and I think that may have something to do with the fact that as to why when I came out, it was Counselor Mr. G. You see how what I did there, right? How I connected those dots, but it was subconscious. I obviously didn't, do it mimicking Mr. T, at least not consciously. But it's amazing how this comes full circle, and so I just wanted to point that out. But anyway, I'm showing you guys how important it was for us to understand some of these iconic moments and how they kind of impact us even to this day. But let's get a little bit more.
On the jump, come on. Come on, Creed. Come on. Yeah, come on. Yeah, just like a chicken, you better run.
Now to give instructions in the middle of the ring, your referee, Marty Jenkins.
Clever, Rocky, you know the rules. I want a good, clean fight. When I tell you to break, I want you to step back up my command and break. Now go back to the corner and come out fighting at the bell.
Dead meat.
This is not going to be a fight of finesse. These are two guys that really throw punches. This thing could end with one punch.
Scared. Yeah. Tear him up, champ. Scared. So look in his eyes.
I'm no trainer. Just go out and kill a guy. Kill him, Rock.
You scared? I'm a new champion. I'm a new champion today. I'm a new champion today.
Flubber, do you accept the challenge for a rematch with Balboa?
I reject the challenge because Balboa is no challenge. But I'd be more than happy to beat up on him some more. I always said he was nothing.
I can't wait to see this bum fall.
What do you think of him being trained by Apollo Creed?
Apollo who?
He said Apollo who?
You talking about that old fool Apollo Creed? Shucks. One has been teaching another.
Talking, pal.
That's all Apollo been doing, been running off at the mouth lately. And when I see him, I'm going to close it for him.
All right. When will the match take place?
The sooner the better. I'm the champion of the world. Ain't nothing can be done about that. I can't be beat, and I won't be beat. This time I'm going to train even harder. There won't be no quick knockdowns. I'm going to torture him. I'm going to crucify him real bad.
Hard words from a hard man. The odds against Balboa making a comeback at 34 are very long indeed. Can he do it? Most experts doubt it. Balboa was a fine champion, but his time has passed.
You can do it. That's right.
But his time...
Coming out of the corner, here comes Clever. Rocky's standing
like I show you. Let's go. Come on.
Clever's looking...
Come on, Balboa. Come on. Come on, son. Bring it to me. Come on, see what you can do. Bring it to it. Move on the inside.
The champion is merely helping. What a beating he's taking.
They're right on left. Don't stand toe-to-toe with him.
Yeah, so that's just an example. They show Mr. T as, this kind of like ultra villain. I think he became like the archetype for a lot of those kind of villains, and I think he just played that role very well. He had just classic lines like this right here as well. And again, guys, this is all from the 80s, so a lot of you didn't get a chance to experience it, but let's get it.
No, I don't hate Balboa, but I pity the fool. And I would destroy any man who tries to take what I got.
What's your prediction for the fight, then?
Prediction?
Yes, prediction.
Pain.
So again, that's the reason why he stole Rocky 3. And again, I know Sylvester Stallone don't feel too good about that, but anyway, I said earlier that this guy was all over the 80s. He had his own cereal and stuff like that. So, I can show you better than I can tell you. This is not, what I'm about to show you is not Photoshop or anything like this. This guy actually did have his own cereal. So let me put that up on the screen here. Here you go. So yeah, Mr. T right there. I think he's the first guy from the Chi that actually had his own cereal. One of the few brothers, I think, that I'm aware of that had their own cereal. Amazing. He had his own cartoon. And I'm spending this time on Mr. T because I want you guys to highlight the fact that we don't see this today. You know, this was the 80s. It aired from 83 to 85, which is a long time for a show, for a cartoon, nonetheless. This was, I didn't even realize it was on this long. I remember being a kid, I saw it, you know, because I guess you could be a kid and while watching the cartoon, eating your Mr. T cereal. So it was pretty interesting. Let's go. Yep. So again, you guys had to be there. You had to see it to believe it. But yeah, I'm just showing and proving what it was like. And you had guys like Mr. T, of all people, who had such a presence in the media, something that you don't see today. So if you juxtapose that with what's going on now, yeah, there's still, you know, black men who are, I guess, sports icons and so forth, but I'm not aware of anyone who has his own cereal, cartoons, TV shows like, oh, you know, here's a commercial for that cereal as well. I just happened to see this.
New Mr. T, breakfast cereal. The cereal with a dynamite taste presents Mr. T, talk number one.
Hello, Mr. T here, and today I'm talking school. Getting an education. You just gotta have it, kids. So study hard, listen to the teachers, and learn something new every day. You'll be a better person. And remember, do the best you can every day.
Mr. T, the delicious, crispy sweet corn and oat cereal, part of a good breakfast.
But remember, you need the whole breakfast to do your best every day.
Yeah, so there he is with a positive message. So where do you see that today? You see what I'm saying? You see why some of us who grew up during the 80s are different for some of you younger guys? Where is the equivalent to that today? I'm just asking. Where you got these guys making these positive messagings and all of that? I don't see that today, right? And yeah, so I just wanted to point that out. And, you know, some of you may even remember him being on this show right here as well.
In 1972, a crack commando unit was sent to prison by a military court for a crime they didn't commit. These men promptly escaped from a maximum security stockade to the Los Angeles underground. Today, still wanted by the government, they survive as soldiers of fortune. If you have a problem, if no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-Team.
Yeah, I think you guys remember this this show, the A-Team, and you see who else was on here. Hold on. Yeah, so I just had to kind of walk you guys through that that walk through memory lane because again, I don't think a lot of you younger guys can appreciate just how iconic some of these figures were back in the day. And what we're going to talk about now is, let me see if I can get these clips loaded up real quick because I'm going to kind of fast forward through it because I didn't want this video to be too long, so I'm just going to kind of run through some clips. I'm probably going to limit my commentary for these last ones because I want to hit every subject because I think we're finished with let's see, that piece of the puzzle that I wanted to show, just like the iconic, at least a couple of the iconic figures during that time. I'm going to talk a little bit about just the vibe and the culture and some of the things that were going on at that time. So let me just play, even though I was too young to go into places like this, but I do remember the older folks around me getting together, having nice little, shindigs and parties and stuff like that. And it was cool. It was just cool to hear the music and stuff as a kid, even though, like I said, I was too young to appreciate it fully, but I still got a chance to see how things were going. And some of you people may remember like little house parties like this back in the 80s that the old folks used to have. Well, they were old to us, but they were young back then. Let's go. You notice how the women were actually a lot more, I would say, ladylike and cooperative and things like that. Even when I was a kid growing up, the girls during that time were a lot different, and that's why I'm telling you guys, you kind of missed out on a lot, growing up when you did. And again, I'm not knocking anybody else's experiences when they grew up, but it was something different back during the 80s. But let me play a couple other things you guys might remember from that era. Let's go. Yeah, I know you guys remember some of that right there. And yeah, we got some more stuff that I think you guys are going to recall. And again, right now we're just touching on some of the little cultural things that were going on during that time. Not just media stuff, but there was a lot of, breakthroughs in terms of dancing and stuff like that, something like this right here.
Ladies and gentlemen, homeboys, homegirls, the New York City Breaker.
And shout out to NYC. They was coming up with stuff, even though hip hop itself was created, in the 70s. It really became a household name in the 80s, and one of those elements of hip hop being breakdancing. So we're gonna play a little of that. Let's go. Mr. Wade was getting it, but yeah, that's just a little bit of what was going on in terms of on the dancing. I don't care who you are. If you were growing up during that time, you tried to get on some cardboard, try to do a backspin, you tried to call yourself a break dancer, and you're a liar, and the truth ain't in you if you deny it. If you were growing up during that time and you did not at some point try to do some type of breakdancing move, you are a liar, and I will tell you to your face. Yeah, let's go. So here's some other clips of things that were going on during that time. Somebody said, they said back then the white was pure, meaning the cocaina, the way this dude is dancing. But like I said, I was too young to know anything about that. But let's go. This big dude's getting it though. Let's get it. And I think this is footage from somebody's high school in 1986. Like I said, I wasn't in high school in '86. I was in grammar school, but you know, it was a different feel. I'm sure even in high school during that time. So I'm gonna play a little bit of that. Let's go. Yeah, so that's for the class of '86. Those of you who may have been old enough to be in high school. I think we got a couple guys over here on the Night Riders that are older than me and maybe were in high school during that time. So salute to you. That's for you right there. But anyway, like I said, I got to kind of jump through these clips. Oh, yeah, let me give you this one right here. This It's from Soul Train back in the 80s. And by the way, Don Cornelius, I believe, is from Chicago as well. And Soul Train started back in Chicago, but then later on he moved to L.A., like a lot of Chicago talent does, because, you know, there's more of a pipeline with Hollywood and all of that. So a lot of the talent that you may be familiar with and some of these classic shows, interestingly enough, they did start in the Chi. So I just wanted to point that out. But this was from 1983. One of the Soul Train shows. Let's go. And like I said, I don't know, but I think the ladies back in the 80s were a lot more attractive, but maybe I'm biased. I don't know. Yeah, it was a different time for sure. So moving right along, let's let's go ahead and I think I'm good on some of the cultural stuff. Yeah, because like I said, I got to sort through these clips because I didn't want to be. I'm going to make this under 2 hours. So just so you guys know, I'm just going to have to run through some stuff, even though I'm missing out on some things that I know I wanted to touch on. But briefly, we cannot talk about the 80s without talking about one of the most iconic things of that era, which is the boombox. And yes, your boy did have a boombox. I remember when I was a kid, I think it was my aunt, my father's sister. I think she got me the first boombox that I had because I happened to be, staying with her. When I was just visiting relatives and, my parents were working and so forth. So I would stay with, grandparents and, my aunt. I think I just spent some time with her and I just happened to be with her during my birthday. And she got me my first boombox. And if you guys that are too young don't know what a boombox is, I'll show you an example right here. My 80s people, stand up. Yeah, so you would see these things everywhere. Here's another video. Yeah. Yeah, and speaking of Radio Raheem, they put him in there. That was a scene from the classic movie Spike Lee's 1989 Do the Right Thing. So I just wanted to show you how iconic and cultural the boombox was. And I'm just going to show this brief clip from Spike Lee's movie to highlight for you younger guys who didn't experience the boombox era. But let's go.
Chill, man. Shut up. You're trying to read. Have some fucking shit, man.
And this also proves the dynamic between who was really about hip hop, whether it was black people or Puerto Ricans. Puerto Ricans back in the day, there was a handful of them that were doing, in the breakdancing, pop locking crews, which were pioneered by black men. But a lot of them were playing their own type of music, which is what this video is going to demonstrate. And when the black guys came through, blasting the hip hop, a lot of the Puerto Rican guys wasn't rocking with it. So I like this clip because it kind of highlights that. But let's go.
Would you hit me in the neck? This is a bad dream, man. Come on. What are you doing, man? Yo, man, do that, man. Chill. You think you got it like that, bro? Got a chocolate? Let's go, motherfucker. Turn up. Inferno, man. Blow it. Yeah, blow it away. Yeah. Yeah. What was the violence? Oh, yeah. Bass. Yeah. What's up? Yo, Steve, put it up louder, Steve. Yeah, man. Yo, what's up, man? Got it, pendejo! What's up? Got it, bro.
Oye, pendejo, baja esa mierda. Come on, Steve, man. No apagues, sube el volumen.
Yeah, so that was a real thing. There were actually beatbox competitions and all that, bro. Yeah, so I just wanted to highlight that because you can't talk about the 80s without talking about the classic boombox. Although there were some issues with it, and then they had to come out with something else that you're going to see here.
From the noisy streets of New York to the laid-back tranquility of California, Americans are tuning out and tuning in. It's the latest fad, tiny stereo cassette players with featherweight headphones. It's caught on all over America, but nowhere as it has in New York, where more and more people are discovering that about the only space they've got is between their ears. In a manner of speaking, of course.
Listening to Beethoven and walking in Manhattan, walking on the streets is...
brothers back in the 80s listen to Beethoven. Shout out to him.
It's pretty nice. As opposed to hearing the sirens that are going by and the jackhammers. Yeah. It just puts you in your own world all by yourself. It's like carrying your stereo with you, on your head. And it's like...
Whether they wear pinstripes or...
Yeah, so, that the Walkman came out because a lot of people were getting tired of people carrying the boom boxes. But let's go.
Some still prefer last year's model, the radio that's about as big as the Empire State Building and as loud as World War II. Can you hear me, by the way?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. What do you think of the people who wear the headsets, so that doesn't make a lot of noise and they only...
What do I think? I don't know.
Told you, man, the 80s was different, man. People were out here walking around with boom boxes, man. I'm telling you, it was different. Let's go.
I can say it's a different strokes.
I can't hear you. Can you speak up just a little bit?
I say it's different strokes for different folks.
Different strokes indeed. In the midst of this serenade, there developed one of those mellow happenings that exemplify the sophistication for which New York is so admired. You bother a lot of people with that?
No. Bother me? Bothers the hell out of me. I think you're invading my life space with that damn thing.
Yeah, I am.
You are, really. Not only mine, but everybody else around here. I ask everybody here, isn't this ridiculous?
It's nice to know that.
The black man gonna say he a country dude. Yeah, it's crazy, but yeah, it's been messed up for quite some time. But anyway, it was different, guys. I just want you guys to see how different things were culturally back then. But let's go to the next thing I wanted to talk about. Oh yeah, you know what? This was another breakthrough, the VCR. You can't talk about the 80s without the VCR, right?
In the new world of video recorders, nobody offers more performance features than this one. RCA Selectivision 650, the maximum 6-hour recording time, an unsurpassed 14-day memory, and remote control special effects like slow motion, picture search, and stop action. Nobody gives you more VCR than Selectivision 650.
See the new 1981 line of RCA
in the new world.
Yeah, believe it or not, that was cutting edge back in the day. But I just wanted to highlight, some of the technology and things like that were going on, because a lot of people don't realize that, things have their origin, right? And people get it twisted and they think that somehow there's something new under the sun, and it really isn't. A lot of things that were going on back then are kind of going on now. It's just a different technology as far as being analog versus digital and stuff like that. But it was a very interesting time, to say the least, to come up in. And I just wanted to show you some of the technology. Oh, by the way, for you phone people, I think we got a clip of some phones, because I don't understand how now the world is just, it doesn't appear that people realize that there was a time that there were no cell phones, and when they did exist, they were like huge. And I remember being during that era and watching the transition between, when there were 0 cell phones to when they were everywhere. So I think a lot of you guys need to kind of just familiarize yourself with some of these past eras, and just kind of live in a way sometimes as if some of these things don't exist, because I think a lot of times people get too dependent on this stuff, to be quite frank with you, and I think they just think that this is kind of something that just was always here. But when there were phones, they were kind of like this right here. I'm going to play a little bit of this clip.
Cellular phones not only are becoming less expensive, they're getting smaller. One piece, handheld. Not car phones, street phones. Or a housewife simply keeping in touch with friends.
This one for $7.99 is...
The cost of cellular phones has been dropping. Installation now is about $1,000. Monthly charge around $100. And they are a hot item.
I mean, I got my first car phone, I think in the 90s or something like that. But yeah, I was too young back then. But my grandmother's second husband, he wasn't my biological grandfather, but he was a guy that was very successful. He actually used to work for Sears. And if you guys don't remember, but Sears was like the Amazon of his day. In fact, if you go downtown Chicago, the biggest building down there was called the Sears Tower. It used to be owned by Sears. I think now it's called the Willis Building or something. Some of you guys that still live in the Chi, you can correct me. But I believe they changed the name to the Willis Tower. And I think that's still the name it has. But back in the day, Sears was like the biggest company in America. And my grandmother's husband, my step-grandfather, if you will, he worked for there. He was a truck driver. And this guy had every latest thing. He had the Lincoln Town cars. He had the Buick LaSalle's. My grandmother's house was always decked out. I used to love going over there. It was crazy. But anyway, that to me exemplifies that era, as far as these technologies and how a lot of this was pioneered during that time. And a lot of the things that you see today has its origin back in the 80s. And yeah, I did want to point that out. So let me move on here. A couple other iconic things, because like I said, such as the prices. Now, I don't eat at some of these establishments, but those of you who go to McDonald's and things like that, this is what you would have paid in the 80s for some of your favorite entrees. Let's go.
70 cents for a McDonald's hamburger in the 80s?
All right, C34.
A family of 4 could eat like kings for $20.
Yeah, it was like that. And I remember being a kid, obviously going to McDonald's then, I wouldn't, I don't want to go there now, but, certainly back then, I didn't realize how cheap things were. Obviously, the dollar had more power as well. And speaking of burger commercials, this was like one of the most popular commercials at the time. Some of you guys who were around during this time going to remember this.
It certainly is a big bun.
It's a very big bun.
Big, fluffy bun.
It's a very big, fluffy bun.
Where's the beef?
Some hamburger places give you a lot less beef on a lot of bun.
Where's the beef?
At Wendy's, we serve a hamburger we modestly call a single. And Wendy's single has more beef than the Whopper or Big Mac. At Wendy's, you get more beef and less bun.
Hey, where's the beef? I don't think there's anybody back there.
You want something better. You're Wendy's kind of people.
Yeah, so that old lady was everywhere. I mean, she got like immediate stardom from that commercial. So shout out to her. I'm sure she's long past dead right about now, but that woman was everywhere back in the 80s. I mean, when she did that commercial, that was like the first viral commercial like that. So, and again, it was the 80s, so there was a lot of things going on. And I remember even a place like Pizza Hut was cool back in the day. I remember being a kid, and the family would go there if I did something good, like had a good grade or something. Then the parents would take us here. And some of you guys might remember. I don't know if Pizza Huts are still around now, but back in the day they were pretty cool. But I think I have a little clip of one, how they looked back then. Let's go. Yeah, and again, I don't even know if those things are still around, but it was actually a cool little joint back in the day. I do remember that. So some of you guys might remember as well. I don't know if you were like me, and then your family would go there from time to time, because it was more of a sit down type restaurant as opposed to your McDonald's and so forth. But anyway, let's get some more. We're gonna kind of speed it along, because like I said, where are we at? We're about an hour and a half in. Yeah, I didn't want this to go too much longer. I wanted to keep it under 2 hours, so let's see if I can do that. So I'm going to have to fast forward to, of course, some TV shows. Just going to jump around. I'm just going to play some clips real quick. Some shows that I knew a lot of you guys maybe forgot about, but I'm just going to run through some of the shows that were popular at the time. Let's get it. Yeah, some people going crazy. They remember these old shows. How about this one right here? I'm just going to play the quick little, I'm not playing the full intros. Just playing some of these old shows that I'm sure some of you have not seen since back in the 80s. And I defy anybody that can do a more comprehensive 80s broadcast than me. Now, this is just the highlights from what we've already done. So I'm not going to be able to show all the clips, but I guarantee you, nobody's going to be able to go into some of the depth as far as some of these 80s phenomenons that went on. And that's the reason why I'm just going to run through these clips. And I'll chime in here and there, but I want to, as we're wrapping up, get as much of this in as possible. Let's go. Now, this show was about this superhero. He didn't have a lot of He had these powers, but he couldn't control the power, so it was funny. Some of you guys remember this show, and it was kind of funny, but let's go.
I can't believe it myself. Suddenly I'm up on top of the world. It should have been somebody else. Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could feel so free. Flying away on a wing and a prayer. Who could it be? Believe it or not, it's just me.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of you guys that remember that, they're like, man, I ain't seen that in like 40 years. Yep, that's why you tuning in, right? I'm making this for the people who remember that time, who remember some of these shows, and they probably have not seen them since then. Here's another one that I know you guys have probably not seen since it first came out. Let's go. Yeah, look at those 80s graphics. And by the way, this guy, Desi Arnaz, he's the son of Lucy and, the guy who played Desi Arnaz Sr., the guy who was on that show, I Love Lucy, so he was on this show as well. Yep, so those 80s graphics, there you go right there. Crazy. But I remember that, watching that show as a kid. Some of you guys might remember this one right here as well. Let's get it. And again, I'm just showing these clips for my real ones. So, I'm doing this for you guys and myself. Look, the people who don't get it, you don't get it. You can bypass it. But for the people who know, they're going crazy. They're like, oh, man, I can't believe this. They probably have never seen this stuff since back when they were a kid. So that's the reason why I'm doing this broadcast. So I got to reiterate it. So everything ain't for everybody. But for my 80s people, I know you loving this right now. But let's go. Yeah, I remember that. It was something about the 80s and these like aircraft shows. The other one, Blue Thunder, the one I showed you was popular, but I think the one that was even more popular than that was this one right here. It had a very catchy intro. You might remember this one too. Some of this has been updated. It's not like the exact original intro, but the soundtrack is the same too, but it looks like somebody edited it. But those of you who remember this show, Airwolf, yeah, that's what this is. Well, let's go. Yeah, so I just want to play a little bit of that. And what else we got for you? Oh, yeah, I think you guys remember this one. I think this one may have came out in the 70s, but it definitely was playing heavy in heavy rotation in the 80s as well. So some of you may remember this one. Yeah, so you had that one, and I think you might remember this one as well. See, a lot of these 80s shows had a very cool intro, nice music, soundtrack, and all of that. So that's what I'm just showing you guys. It was different. I don't even watch TV today, but I guarantee you they don't have shows that have this type of style, this type of, just flavor to it. So that's the reason why I'm just taking you through this memory lane for, again, for the guys who were living during that time. I know this is taking you back, and for the younger guys, I just want you to appreciate the environment that we kind of grew up in, the type of things that we used to watch. But this is PI. And we got another one that I know you guys are going to trip when you see this one, because you got to be one of the real ones to remember this show right here. You got to be one of the real ones to remember this right here. Did he just start out with his passport? So right there, this was before the Passport Bros. They had the passports on deck, and this was back in the 80s. I didn't even know what a passport was back then, but it's amazing some of the subliminals that we were getting even at that young age. But let's go. Yep, you remember MacGyver here. He could make something out of nothing. He'd be stuck somewhere. It was the one show that instead of the traditional action where somebody just shooting up everything, he actually had to figure things out. So when we were growing up, guys, they would at least show us shows where, it would encourage you to be like an engineer and learn how to get your, self out of situations by learning how to, put wires together and splice things. And, it was a pretty interesting show in that regard. So shout out to the people who produced this show, because it was a different take on action, because it allowed you to think with, instead of using brute force, you have to figure. They would put him in these situations where you have to figure his way out. So I think that was important. I don't think they're making these type of shows today, but anyway, let's get a little bit more. Yeah, so that was a lot of what was going on in the 80s. Oh, and this show right here was another popular one. Yeah, that show had its own style to it. People were dressing like the main characters on that show, with the sleeveless shirts with the blazers over them. That became like the look of the 80s. So it was crazy. And I know you guys, some of you might be fronting, but on Saturday mornings you were watching this show right here as well. I don't care how thug some of those dudes are now. Back in the 80s, when they was a kid, they were watching this diverse cast and all that stuff. But yeah, y'all fronting. After you got through watching your cartoons in the 80s, that would come on and you would go ahead and watch that too. You did. I don't want to hear it. But anyway, this was another classic right here. They need to bring back. I've heard some people say they need to bring this one back. I don't know. Sometimes you can ruin a classic, but I'll just play this intro. For those of you who know, Let's go. Oh yeah, we're pulling out all the classics tonight. Again, I don't think nobody else is going to be able to make references like this for the 80s. And again, this is an abbreviated show because again, the one that we broadcasted, I had more in-depth detail and some more obscure clips, but I'm just kind of sorting through the ones I want to show. But make no mistake about it, I would challenge anybody to make a more comprehensive 80s broadcast than me once we're able to put it together the way we want, as opposed to doing the highlights like I'm doing now. But anyway, let's get it. And those of you who don't remember what that show was about, I don't want to give it away, but it's something that was a very unique storyline as far as these aliens. I always like this intro as well, this track. And that dude they just show right here, Robert Englund, that's the guy who played Freddy Krueger. So again, I'm just giving you guys a little trivia as well. So that's another reason why it would be very difficult for somebody to make a better 80s themed broadcast, because I know so many nuances about that era that I will connect dots that they probably won't be able to. But anyway, let's get a little bit more. Yeah, like I said, they just have some classic theme songs and tracks, and it was just a different time. The way that they used to put together these that was actually a mini series. The way they used to put together these shows, it was pretty unique. And of course, before we round out this particular subject, last but not least, we cannot overlook the actual show to whom this particular broadcast owes its name. So let's get it.
Knight Rider, a shadowy flight into the dangerous world of a man who does not exist.
I think this could have been the very first depiction on TV of a Sigma man, right? Because a lot of the other heroes were, alpha guys and so forth. And this Michael Knight character in Knight Rider was actually, of course I didn't know at the time, but for some reason I resonated with that character even at a young age. But later on, I now understand in retrospect that was a depiction of a Sigma guy. He's actually pretty much a Sigma, And I think, again, this was one of the first, maybe the first broadcast that showed a Sigma man in a role that was outside of what was the traditional Alpha. But let's go.
Michael Knight, a young loner on a crusade to champion the cause of the innocent, the helpless, the powerless, in a world of criminals who operate above the law.
So there you have it, guys. So you see how you bring things full circle. So even the name of this particular broadcast owes it to the 80s, right? So I think that moves us right along to the next subject at hand, which is the I think we're going to get a little bit into the black shows. We're going to play a couple of those that were some of the most popular during the 80s. Even though this one, which is a classic, may have gotten it started in the late 70s, but I think this needs no introduction, so let's go.
Well, that must be Henrietta now. Don't open it, Ma. Pretend we're not home. Or better yet, I'll write a note saying we moved and shove it under the door. Shove you under that door. Answer. Answer the door, Junior.
Now, what I like about this clip is, even though this was late 70s or 80s, look at the reaction of the family in this depiction of if a girl was showing up to their house already pregnant, and they knew that their son was not the baby daddy, as it were. So look at the whole different structure. Even though they were in the projects, this show Good Times was set in Chicago, Cabrini Green projects. Some of you guys listening to this may not be as familiar with it as those of us who are from the Chi. In fact, I've never lived in the projects, but my uncle, who was a superintendent of, he was actually the head of the, he was he worked for the CHA, which is the Chicago Housing Authority. He was a master plumber, and he would go in, and I remember being a kid, and sometimes he would take me and my cousin with him, you know, just getting us to learn the ropes, because back then you had things like that. You know, I remember going, you know, to my father's job, going to my uncle's job. You know, they would do carpentry work and things like that, and I would be able to observe as a young boy, and that's why I learned things. And I remember going into Cabrini Green and places like that. But anyway, I think this was a very good depiction of a family, you know, with this particular character played by the late great John Amos. He pretty much nailed it as far as being a very believable TV father, and I think a lot of people voted, at least in the black community, vote him number one compared to Bill Cosby, even though it set the tone in terms of TV families. That is the Cosby Show. We're going to play a little bit of that, but it owes its beginning, I think, with this show right here, but I'm going to play a little bit more.
Over to dinner, but I didn't know she was going to bring company.
And that's the legendary Esther Roll playing that. You know, some of you obviously seen her clip. Damn. People like to play that clip when James died. That was a shocking moment for the black community. I don't care what nobody say. We all were glued to the TV back then when they aired that episode of when James, the father, died from the show. It was crazy. But anyway, Good Times was a very interesting place because a lot of people got their start there, or they became household names on their show, such as these two right here. Let's go.
Hi, Tom. Hi, Michael. Hi, Jenny. Hey, where's Gary? Yeah, aren't you supposed to be keeping an eye on him?
And that is Janet Jackson, for those of you who may not know, and Gary Coleman will be entering shortly. I think this was maybe before he even got the role on Different Strokes, because his name on this show was Gary. I think when they were young like that, they had to give them their actual name so that they could respond to it. But anyway, let's go.
So there you are. Woman, what's the big idea of your
Gary, our bus is running. Your legs are just too short.
What do you call it short? Woman, that's no way to talk to your man.
Gary, you're not my man.
But Janet's trying to she's trying to not break the character. I know she wants to bust up laughing at Gary Coleman, but anyway.
We're just good friends.
Yeah, but anyway, Good Times was a classic show, and it gave rise to a lot of other shows. You know, there were other classic shows and theme songs like this one right here as well.
Well, we're moving on now to the east side, to a deluxe apartment in the sky. Moving on now.
And by the way, another bit of trivia, the lady who's singing the theme song for this show is actually the lady who played the character of Walona, who was Janet Jackson's mother or adopted mother on Good Times. So I just thought I'd bring that in because a lot of you guys may not be familiar with that. But again, that's what I'm saying. I know the 80s very well, so I can piece together some of these things. But let's get some more.
To the east side, we finally got a piece of the pie. Fish don't fry in the kitchen, beans don't burn on the grill. Took a whole lot of trying just to get up that hill. Now we're up in the big leagues, getting our turn at bat. As long as we live, it's you and me, baby. There ain't nothing wrong with that. We're moving on up to the east side, to a deluxe apartment in the sky. Moving on up to the east side. We finally got a piece of the pie.
Yep, that was another classic show from the 80s. And then, of course, there was this one right here that we spoke of earlier. So that was the first intro, and then there's I think the second season they had this intro. Hold on. Yeah, and another thing, I think Dee pointed out the fact that, and I've mentioned this before too, as far as how a lot of the shows, you know, they would put, you know, biracials in. It would be two unambiguous parents, and they would put that in. We went over this during the I think the last broadcast when we were breaking that down with the paternity and all of that. So we're not going to get into it now. But even though Cosby Show was a classic show, that's one of the things that they perpetuated. Even though Lisa Bonet, her right there, she's actually biracial, and the other lady is too. The lady who we showed earlier, her right there. But anyway, that, you know, that was part of the culture of it, and a lot of people they get offended when you point out these types of things, but we just make it clear we're not saying that makes someone bad or anything like that. We just have to start putting things into their proper perspective. But anyway, let's play a little bit more. Now, if you look at her last name, I think they both have like Creole names, because the other one's last name is like French Creole, like LeBeau, and her name it looks like Bonnet, but it's pronounced Bonnet. But yeah, I thought I'd point that out. But let's go. And by the way, and I like Malcolm Jamal Warner. I like Malcolm Jamal Warner because you never really see him in no foolery or nothing. He seemed like a very well-rounded, stable guy. You don't see him caught up. And that's one thing we're going to talk about probably in our next broadcast. And I'm just going to give you a sneak preview. Our next broadcast will be Manalytics 7. And we're going to be talking about your spiritual path and not being a victim of your own lust and to be, basically going through life. You can enjoy yourself, but don't get caught up in certain things like what we see in the news with a lot of these guys losing their reputation, losing wealth. So we're going to talk about that in the next broadcast. So those of you who made it this far, you get the nice sneak preview of the next broadcast that we're going to do coming up. So I just thought I'd throw that in there. Let's go. Yeah, so, for the second time, we won't play all the intros, but we just wanted to, take you down that walk of memory lane with those shows. So those of you who, even if you didn't grow up during the 80s, you know about that show, of course. And you may know about the spinoff of that show, which is this one right here.
I know my parents loved me.
Now, this is from season 2. I think the original show started in 87 or something, but it was supposed to be a spinoff for Lisa Bonet, but she wound up getting pregnant, and I think Bill Cosby didn't want her on the show after that. And I think that might be one of the reasons that later on she threw him under the bus when those allegations came out. So it's kind of funny how that all worked out. But this intro is very interesting because it pretty much was the only show that I'm aware of in TV history where Aretha Franklin herself sung the intro theme. So that's how it was back in the 80s. You had some of these black shows that had some classic intros that were sung by some of the most iconic singers, like Aretha Franklin, known as the Queen of Soul and so forth, but she's actually singing the intro to this TV show. But let's go.
Stand behind me, come what may. I know now that I'm ready, yeah.
And by the way, guys, I know we're a little over 2 hours, but it's still, going to be shorter than what our normal broadcast is, which is like 3.5 to maybe even 4. So we're going to be wrapping up soon because we still got to go into some of the cartoons and then some other couple of things. We're going to hit the music last, and then that'll be it. We'll be wrapping up. Hopefully, I'll be wrapping it up within the next 20, 30 minutes. I just want to make sure we hit these clips because I did not get the chance to put everything that I put on the original broadcast, but you at least get some of this stuff. So that's good. Let's go.
Oh, I finally heard them say it's a different world. Ooh, and where you come from, the city is now, yeah. Here's our chance to make it. Hey, and if we focus on our goal, you can decide, we can take it. Just remember that you've been told it's a different.
And speaking of which, didn't Cree Summer, her right there, this is when she was young, didn't she just come out recently and admit that she was a bust down or something? I didn't see the interview, but I heard some people talking about it, how she like being choked or something. It's something weird. But anyway, it's funny how these women wait until they get into their 50s and 60s and decide that they're just kind of, reveal how much of a freak they are, and then complaining why they're single. But anyway, I thought I saw Cree Summer, this woman right here, people talking about her recently. But anyway, this was her back in the day. Let's go.
It's a different world. It's a different world. It's a different world. It's a different world than where you come from. Ooh, than where you come from.
Yeah, so again, they don't make TV intros like that no more. It was kind of crazy how so many people missed out on seeing some of the things that were going on back in the 80s. But again, that's the reason why I'm just giving you guys a little sample of what was going on. In the 80s was kind of like a whole different vibe, like little intermission right here. Some of you might be able to relate to this.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Yeah, some of you guys don't know what that's like, because I think we used to go to bed a lot sooner back then. I think we enjoyed life probably a little bit more. We were spending a lot of time outside, even though we had a lot of iconic moments going on in media, because that's what we've been kind of showing you, because it's relatable and a lot of people know. But there were so many things going on in real life as well. We were going out. I mean, I would spend time playing sports, running around, climbing trees, collecting insects, riding bikes, hiking. Like I said, being a city kid, I had the benefit of having strong roots in the South, so I would spend time down there a lot. And so it was always an adventure, just learning stuff, and I always was very outdoorsy, even though I definitely spent a good amount of balanced time enjoying myself outside, but I saw a lot of things that were going on in the media as a kid as well. So that's the reason why my recollection is so good when it comes to this stuff. But I got an honorable mention because I think this particular classic series needs to be remembered. And I think this particular character, the lead cast member, the star of this show, is probably going down in history as the best casting of all time. I mean, this guy right here played this role to the point where he defined it. And that is the great Henry Sele of South Africa, who played this particular character. And even as a kid, I remember thinking when this show, because it was huge. It was almost like the miniseries Roots, which I think started in the 70s. That's why I didn't add it here. But this particular miniseries actually came out in the 80s, 86 to be exact. And I'm just going to play this as a honorable mention right here, this show. Yep, those of you who remember this miniseries when it came out, it was one of the best depictions of that particular culture that's probably ever been on film. But there have been movies about Zulus and things like that, but this was a very good show. And what made it so good, the story itself, but the actor that they chose to play Shaka, which was, like I said, Henry Sele, which is going to show up shortly in the credits. Let's go. Yeah, they got his name right there, Henry Sele. Everybody that sees this feels that no matter what Shaka looked like, when you think of Shaka Zulu, you think of this guy right here. Let's go.
Be a man of greatness now, a man so tall, a man so kind. Be a man of wisdom
now, a man of mind and a man of life. Be a man of kindness now, a man so big and strong in mind. Be a man so humble now, a man of...
Yeah, I'll fast forward to him right here. Hold on. Let me see. Yeah, there he is right there. Henry Seeley. He played the hell out of that role. I encourage you guys who have not seen the original Shaka Zulu back in this series that they did back in the 80s. If you're interested in, traditional African culture or this particular figure, Shaka Zulu, you definitely need to check out that miniseries. Let's go. Yeah, but he played the hell out of that role. But anyway, oh yeah, another classic series, or show I should say, that was revolutionary for its time was this one right here. So I think you guys are going to appreciate this. They remember?
The Arsenio Hall Show. My name is Arsenio Hall.
Arsenio Hall was a stand-up comic and actor who had street cred with the kids and a sunny demeanor that made him not at all scary to network TV.
Now, I don't care who you were. When this show came on at night, your ass stayed up late, even if your parents told you to go to bed or whatever. You tried to sneak and stay up as long as you could to check out the Arsenio Hall Show. But let's go.
Let's get busy. He was the late night talk show host that was the coolest, bar none. It was a party.
That's what made it exciting. You were having a party in your living room.
He had on all that nice late 80s gear, all that bright colors, and he had the long-ass finger.
Even if your mom was trying to get you in bed for school that next day, you kind of had to stay up to watch who was going to come on Arsenio.
We got told.
Exactly, like that, I think Ronnie DeVoe from New Edition. Yeah, I wanted to cover them as well. Let me see if I got time. New Edition was the greatest boy band of all time other than the Jackson 5. So, yeah, all these guys were on that show. The Arsenio Hall Show was revolutionary and breakthrough, and shout out to him. So we're going to play a little bit more of this, and then I think we're going to get into the cartoons, and then we're probably going to end with music, and we'll be wrapping it up. But let's go. Oh, by the way, now I'm going to get a couple of movie scenes as well. Hopefully they don't flag us, but anyway.
Nice pace to his show, which was a great alternative to Johnny Carson.
He said, I'm going to come in and energize you.
Everything about Arsenio was fresh, from his guests, to his clothes, to his rallying cry.
Arsenio had the whole thing with the...
Yeah, he had everybody doing that. If he was back in the 80s, he had old white grandmamas doing that, but anyway.
And everybody across the country was doing that. I was.
People you would not expect to do this were doing this. Oh, hey, nice putt, John. You know what I mean?
Woo woo. The show peaked with a 3.9 rating, an immense success for a syndicated show.
Everybody in the community loved Arsenio.
Please give it up for MC Light.
The key to Arsenio's success was tapping into the youth audience, both black and white, and the phenomenon of hip-hop.
He was bringing on acts, which was considered cutting edge, that CBS and NBC and ABC wasn't going nowhere near.
I like to call them the hippies of hip-hop. Estee La Soul. Mirror, mirror on the wall.
Letterman wasn't booking them. Tonight Show wasn't booking them. So he had free reign of all of this great black music that was exploding out of America in the late 80s.
Kid and Play. Boogie Down Production.
New edition!
Yeah, it was great. That show was great until, he pushed the envelope and he had Farrakhan on there. I think that was the beginning of the end. Once he brought Farrakhan on, they had to get him up out of there. But it was crazy. Those of you who know, that when you grew up during that time, that was the place to be. You would, like I said, stay up a little bit late and check that out. But, I got some quick honorable mentions before I leave the 80s TV shows. This one right here. Used to love this show as a kid. I think it started in the 70s, but I used to still watch it.
Dr. David Banner, physician, scientist, searching for a way to tap into the hidden strengths that all humans have. Then an accidental overdose of gamma radiation interacts with his unique body chemistry. And now when David Banner grows angry or outraged, a startling metamorphosis occurs.
Yep. So those of you who know, you know, that was a classic show right there. And it, again, I believe it started in the 70s, but it ran into the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. And it was pretty cool to watch as a kid, you know, because back then the effects were pretty good. How they used to show them changing, and you know, it made its point. So that was pretty cool. But I'm going to load up, let me see. Oh, you know what? I think I got another honorable mention. Let me pull that one out. And again, I think we're cooking, so I'm going to go a little bit longer than I thought. I wanted to keep it under an hour and a half, but I know you guys are still rocking with me. So those of you who are history buffs like me, you like the nostalgia, you're still in the house. And I definitely appreciate the people of like mind who can appreciate these types of things, because as we get older, you know, it gets, you know, time goes on and we just kind of lose sight of some of this stuff. But it's important just to walk down memory lane sometimes. And this was another classic right here. Y'all know what it is. And like I said, even though this was a 70s show, it was airing in the 80s too. So I gotta, yeah, those shows back in the late 70s and 80s had a whole nother style to them. You know, there were dramas, action flicks, and all that. So I don't think they have anything like that on TV anymore. Oh, and by the way, the other honorable mention was this show right here. Got to show it. I think this one was another one from the 70s, but I used to watch it in the 80s as well. Let's go. Now, wait a minute, or 1 moment. But that funny running. Now, you know we don't rock with the feminism over here, but if you was a kid growing up, you was watching that show for whatever reason. I mean, that right there was a classic as well, so I had to mention it. But anyway, let's get off into these. Oh, you know what? Let me get a quick classic commercial that some of you guys might not realize got its start back in the 80s.
The information purification directives created without this tiny audience.
This was the introduction of a particular Apple product.
Themselves to death, and we provide them with their own confusion. We shall prevail.
On January 24th, Apple Computer will introduce Macintosh. And you'll see why 1984 won't be like 1984.
Yeah, and those of you who don't remember what the Macintosh is this right here. This should have been in the technology category, but
Macintosh. It does all. Introducing Macintosh. It does all the things you'd expect a business computer to do. It does a lot of things you wouldn't expect.
I believe that was the first computer I ever laid my hands on, so I just thought I'd put that out there. And of course, we can't be talking about commercials from 1980s without this one right here that was everywhere.
California raisins from the California vineyards.
Don't you know that I heard it through the grapevine?
Sounds better than what I got.
Now, those of you in the 80s, y'all going crazy right now because y'all remember that. I think the actual first commercial was this one when they first introduced them.
California raisins from the California vineyards.
Yeah, but those of you who know, you know I had to play that because that particular commercial was huge back in the 80s, and I would be remiss not to show that because that was a definition of what was going on back then. So I think that's it. Oh, and for my regional people who remember the Chicago type of commercials, I used to love these when I was, was staying up late watching those little late movies and things like that, like the weekend action theater. I'm gonna play this for my Chi-Town people.
Night Court, weeknights at 6:30 on Channel 9.
Yeah, Channel 9 WGN. That, I think that's one of my favorite stations because a lot of my favorite shows came on WGN in Chicago.
Night Court, weeknights at 6:30 on Channel 9.
Tonight,
yeah, that I love the color scheme and then the intro, and this might have been one of my inspirations growing up as a kid. And you notice our broadcast kind of captures some of this, so I'm showing you guys this to let you know the influences from the 80s and how palatable it was. And this announcer is the legendary Ruby D Mary D from Chicago. For those of you who may not know. Her voice is the kind of the voice of Chicago when it comes to stuff like this, but let's go.
On WGN's Action Theater, the Duke leads the action in Vietnam. John Wayne stars in the Green Beret.
Yeah, so that was a classic little commercial intro they used to do. But you guys got to bear with me because this show could be like 10 hours long. I'm trying to skip through certain things because I'm just trying to hit these points because I want to make this as potent as I can with the limited time because it's not going to be the length of a traditional live stream. So I am trying to make it do what it do as far as squeeze in as much as I can, but we have very limited time and space. So I'm going to play a couple of these classic cartoon shows. I'm just going to breeze through them real quick. And I'm thinking you guys are going to remember some of these.
It was a stormy night when a bolt of lightning forced me off the road. My car skidded into a government laboratory where a top-secret experiment was underway. I swerved into the path of Dr. Chase's molecular transfer ray, causing me and my car to become one. The incredible Turbo Team!
I know some people are going crazy. They're like, man, I ain't seen that since back then. Oh, yeah. What about this one right here? I think Umar remembers this one right here.
Sing your happy song. Smurf the whole day long. Smurf along with me. Simple as can be.
Yeah, so that's where the Cookie Monster, got the whole Smurf thing. So some of you guys may be too young to remember, but those of us who were from that era, we know exactly what he's referring to with the Smurf. That was a popular show. And again, I don't care how gangster somebody is right now. They were watching it. I dare them to try to deny it. I just have to, call people's bluff because people be, talking crazy like they went up in their PJs and their Garanimals. Some people know what that is. They tripping. Like I said, the points of references are going to be crazy. But, yeah, we're going to have to run through these real quick. Let's see. What's the other one? Yep, I think you guys might remember this one right here, too.
Cops, central organization of police specialists, fighting crime in a future time, protecting Empire City from Big Boss and his gang of crooks.
Yeah, so I'm just going to play a little bit of these now. I'm just going to run through them. I'm not going to interrupt. I may say a little bit of something here and there, but I'm just going to run through these real quick, and then we're going to move on to the music. Let's go.
In 2086, two peaceful aliens journeyed to Earth, seeking our help. In return, they gave us the plans for our first hyperdrive, allowing mankind to open the doors to the stars. We have assembled a team of unique individuals to protect Earth and our allies. Courageous pioneers committed to the highest ideals of justice and dedicated to preserving law and order across the new frontier. These are the adventures of the Galaxy Rangers.
I know somebody like, man, how the hell he remember all this? I told you, man, from the 80s. Like I said, I'm only doing this for my real ones. That's the only reason why I'm doing this. I'm doing this for the real people, the real 80s people. Some of these references, I know they're going over people's heads, but for the real ones, they going crazy right now. Let's get some more. I think a lot of people might know about this one, though. Let's go. We're just going to run through them. This is the definitive ultimate 80s program. That's the only reason why I'm doing this. Let's go.
And the masters of the universe. I am Adam, Prince of Eternia and defender of the secrets of Castle Grayskull. This is Cringer, my fearless friend. Fabulous secret powers were revealed to me the day I held aloft my magic sword and said, "By the power of Grayskull." Cringer became the mighty Battle Cat, and I became...
Yep.
From now on...
I'm just emptying the clip right now. I know some people, they tripping. They're like, man, I ain't seen this in like 40 years. I know. Let's go.
Like your parents were, you are the secret force of pole position.
They're moving real fast. They're the only ones who can get there on time.
Okay, sis.
And never too far behind, they are always fighting crime.
Stop time, Dan. Ready when you are, Rhodey.
In the danger zone. Pretty soon they'll be off on a mission.
Hydrofoil mode, Rhodey. Hydrofoil engaged, Dan.
What's behind wheels? Hovercraft, quick.
What's behind this show?
Yep, I know some of you people are like, man, I can't believe this dude's remembering this. Oh, yeah. And we can't forget this one, which is one of the coldest intros of a cartoon, in my opinion. I remember when I first seen this as a kid, I was like, yeah, they did their thing on this animation. But check out this classic right here. Yep, and then cannot forget this one right here.
From days of long ago, from uncharted regions of the universe, comes a legend. The legend of Voltron, defender of the universe. A mighty robot, loved by good, feared by evil.
Yep, I'm just running through them because I'm about to wrap up, but I'm just getting them all in, guys. This one right here, of course. I know I got some G.I. Joe people, so I got to represent for you guys. Got to represent for y'all. This is from the movie that they did, which had a cold intro. I'm not going to play the whole one, but I just want to, tip my hat to it because we used to watch this too. Let's go. Used to watch the hell out of that. But anyway, you know what I'm going to do, guys? Oh, we got to end it with my all-time favorite. It needs no introduction, but the Transformers. Let's get it.
Transformers, more than meets the eye. Autobots wage their battle to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons. The Transformers, robots in disguise. The Transformers, more than meets the eye. The Transformers.
Yeah, that was a classic season 1 episode opening, and I'm going to do the season 2 right here. Let's go. And I gotta do season 3. Let's go. Yeah, I think it had 4 seasons, but we're going to stop right there. And guys, you know what I'm going to have to do? I'm going to break this up into 2 because the latter part, I wanted to go in more detail on some of the film scenes as well as the music, the hip-hop and everything. So I'm going to drop another video on this because, again, this wasn't like the live stream that we did, because during that time I